How you doing, guys? ZedEye here. So I wanted to continue regarding of the yesterday's video that I made of regards to Redfall, Microsoft, Xbox, Phil Spencer, CMA, Activision Blizzard King and start the acquisition and everything like that, Game Pass. But basically, we've gotten far more information coming from Phil Spencer himself. He made an appearance at the Kinda Funny Games and like about 40 to 50 minutes podcast. He laid out so much details, what to expect the future of Xbox, what they're trying to resolve, and many more details. And as such, I think that unfortunately we did not get much of good news, if at all. So if you have been paying attention and if you have checked out my yesterday's video, and I highly recommend you to do so, because I mentioned in that video, if Xbox, Phil Spencer, Microsoft, does not matter, right? In this case, any of them basically, if they will be doing the same thing as they've been doing, unfortunately they're just gonna stay at third place forever, if that makes sense, right? First place being PlayStation, second place being Nintendo, and third place obviously being Microsoft. And if you remember a few decades ago, Xbox 360 at one point was on top. They genuinely were. And Microsoft was on top, then was PlayStation on second place. And as such, it completely shifted, completely pivoted the time when PlayStation 4 era and Xbox One release of their consoles, respectively, right? And such that everything pivoted. Like with the mistakes that Microsoft has been going through, Xbox with its, the launch of Xbox One, right? And it's just after that, it never recuperated. It never has surpassed PlayStation at that point. Never. And as such, from Microsoft, from Phil Spencer himself, he says like, after that point, they lost. He literally admitted it like that, even though the way he said it was a lot more kinder, even worse. Again, he's a PR guy, it makes sense why he would, make it more professional. But I'm gonna kind of dig into the details and be a little bit more brutal about it. But I don't want to be like, pivoting towards PlayStation and being like a fan of PlayStation only. I want to be critical and talk about the negatives and the positives as well of Xbox too, okay? But unfortunately, like I said, just so much negativity is unfortunate, and also the information that Phil Spencer laid out is also quite, unfortunate. Before I continue, I want to say, man, Phil Spencer is an amazing guy. Seriously, like, so much bad news that's coming into fruition regarding Xbox. It's insane that he even made an appearance in this podcast and started talking about video games and, explaining the situation that they're in. It's like, kudos to him, seriously. Like, big respect. Like, I respect that, seriously. Even though he did dodge a lot of questions, I was watching this podcast, and yeah, he definitely dodged a lot of questions on top of that. But yeah, you could still get some tidbit of information that, okay, well, this is not good news in a lot of cases of his answers that he has mentioned. And as such, the one main element, and I'll get into it, basically, that he mentions, they have a different vision, right? They won't be outselling Sony or Nintendo. They're gonna do their own thing. Game Pass, that's their answer. He said it multiple times, and I feel like he's gonna keep on saying it, that he wants to have Game Pass on every other device platforms, so everybody can make the whole lot of use of it. And as such, this is why they don't care about making 11 out of 10 games. He even said it himself, like, there's no world where Starfield is 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PlayStation 5s. Or as an example, that was his words. And as such, it's just like, okay, wait. So one thing for sure we can expect, and this is my opinion, I'm gonna sprinkle in here. It's possible that Starfield may not be even 9 or 10 out of 10. Maybe, because like he says, even if you get an 11 out of 10, nothing will change. Okay, sure, one game, that's true. He may be right about one game, but why don't you have multiple games that could be fantastic? So, you just you give up? Is that what you do? Because look, you already given us an answer to be not confident of your platform because of Redfall mainly, right? Because Halo Infinite and now Redfall, and a lot of cases, I have actually read articles that Xbox shouldn't be blamed of the Arcane's kind of a mess up that they did with the Redfall. No, Xbox should be blamed. Xbox is also managing the situation, right? They're the publishers. It makes sense for them to make sure that Arcane doesn't mess things up. Or perhaps Bethesda. Bethesda is also, look, Bethesda overhaul is under the wings of Xbox, Microsoft. They should be controlled, they should be disciplined, they should be looked after. But also, there's been a lot of mention, the creativity. Phil Spencer said like he does not want to take away the creativity of the developers. If the developers want to make any certain game and they have a vision for it, he says, no problem. Go do your own thing, it's no problem at all. I agree with him. But again, creativity can get you so far. If the creativity disappears because over the longevity of the amount of time that you make games and develop them, that creativity will diminish. That's why you have so many more people coming in, introducing more ideas, and basically kind of reigniting the flame within you of creativity once again, right? It makes sense. But the thing is, you need to monitor this. Monitor. That's why there are deadlines. That's why there's always money on the table, basically making sure if you can get this done, you're going to get your royalties, you're going to get your extra bonuses and stuff like that. There's a little bit of a carrot on a stick at the end of the tunnel that you can actually grab. As an example, kind of a motive a little bit too. It's not just solely about creativity. Because I'm mentioning this is because Microsoft, well, they're a $1 trillion company, more than that. Right? I think it was trillion. I might be losing my mind a little bit here. And as such, they can actually make that carrot on a stick for these developers and to actually strive and make a better game. But they won't, because this game will be coming on Game Pass. They don't need to make fantastic games. It doesn't matter about creativity. Again, we're talking about Phil Spencer here. He's a PR guy. He could be lying through his teeth and making it seem like he's being legit. You shouldn't always fall for PR speeches. It makes sense why he would say this. It's also a benefit to Xbox. But if you really pay attention and also see of the previous proofs and the previous steps that they have made in terms of the games that released, you can clearly see he's not exactly truthful with his words. Game Pass is the big thing that Xbox cares about. But it doesn't matter about the games that come out on Xbox day one. Because what that matters to them is the subscription. If the longer you stay on the Game Pass, the more benefit that Xbox will see and Microsoft will gain. That makes sense. It's business, it's normal. But if you have a fantastic game that costs I'm not too sure, maybe $500 million to make, you know how much money you lose just so you can actually have this one game completely feature-proof and rich of game, right? Fully complete, and releases day one on Game Pass. People will only, there will be a spike of increase in terms of the Game Pass subscription. Yes, it will be on that month. But there are a lot of people who will actually unsubscribe, or they will only have the Game Pass for a month, maybe a year. That's it. They'll be done. But that's why Xbox cannot just feasibly put out money into video games that they hope they will be 10 out of 10, because it will not be sustainable. Game Pass is far cheaper than actually purchasing a game. What was it, $15 a month, right? And if you purchase a game for $70, it's a lot of money. And also the gal having Xbox first party game, Redfall, and that costs $70 now, right? Usually it was always $60, but Xbox changed their strategy and they're now making $70 for their game. But of course, nobody's gonna buy that game for that amount of money, well, because of Game Pass. I believe it came out on day one as a Game Pass, so why would you purchase a full game for this? And knowing that fact, knowing how much it costs, hell, I'm just gonna get a Game Pass and I'll play it through there. It's far cheaper. Why should I, purchase a game for a full price, even though we know how the reviews have actually, told us already that actually it is in a very, very poor state. And it's weird and also kind of sneaky, right? It sucks. It genuinely sucks. And as such, they genuinely admitted that they lost the console wars. And this sucks because, there's been a mention that if original game fails, this means that there's a possibility that a lot of our games, not just Xbox, but everywhere else, means that creativity will be downwards. It will be going downwards. There'll be a lot more sequels coming in instead, because an original idea, if that fails, a lot more developers and publishers will be afraid to make those games. But as such, if there's a success on those games, on those IPs, there will be far likely chance of those games now getting and receiving a sequel. I get that idea, I totally understand, but in case of like Game Pass, that really doesn't matter. If it's an original idea or a sequel, as long as people come into that subscription for a month or 3 months or a whole year, that's all that really truly matters. And if they don't see that investment in terms of the Game Pass, they're only going to be losing cash, losing money. So more money that they pour in, more development time it takes to make that fantastic game, right? As an example of Starfield, it's likely that they will lose more cash on that. That's why it's going to be coming in Game Pass. That's why the game is not going to be, 100% in terms of the, content rich in it. This is why Starfield, as an example, it's been already delayed twice, 3 times, if I'm correct. And as such, basically, it's supposed to come out last year. Remember this? It was supposed to come out in 2022 November. Now it's coming out in September of 2023. A whole year of the delay. Like, what are you trying to improve during that time? Because Redfall already got delayed for a whole year. It was supposed to come out last year. Can you believe this? And this is like, at least Phil Spencer said, and they said they want to make sure that they be best possible state as it can be and make sure that they meet the expectations of many. And like Arcane Studios' quality. But whose expectations did you actually meet when the game released, Redfall? Like, this is why there's so much concern to see what's going to happen now with Starfield. And as such, I'm just looking at the situation and I'm worried. I'm worried because, like I said in my previous video, I want PlayStation to have a competition. But Xbox outright literally mentions they lost. Because that's not what they are concentrating. They're not concentrating on having many first-party title games, brilliant first-party title games, because they know that 1 or 2 fantastic 10 out of 10s are not going to save this console, Xbox. Because PlayStation has far better, I'm going to have to say, better library than Xbox ever did. Well, at this point anyway. And as such, that's why they're trying to scoop up on these acquisitions, so they make sure that all these games, all these studios are going to be working specifically for Game Pass. And everything will be exclusive towards Xbox, and nothing will be coming to, like, as an example, of Nintendo or PlayStation. And as such, it's genuinely sucks. It genuinely sucks. And that kind of mindset, that kind of PR, even if it's a PR, that's not a good thing to say, because like, even if you have a game that's 11 out of 10, and yet he mentions that it doesn't matter. This just gives me less confidence, because it seems like Starfield will not be a game of the generation, game of the year, and it seems like Xbox giving up. Man, so disappointing. Well, I guess, for PlayStation fans, they will be very excited about this news that Xbox is going down the drain. Like it's been mentioned, Xbox is not concentrating on making brilliant games and having a competition with Sony or Nintendo. They're doing their own thing, as been mentioned. And that genuinely sucks, because PlayStation does not have any competition. Nintendo is doing their own games as well. You can't compare Nintendo with PlayStation. The only closest comparison that we had was Xbox and PlayStation. Alright, well, PlayStation is all about the big titles, big games, fully complete on day one. Single player now, of course, will be some of the more live service types of games, multiplayer included. Nintendo having more of kind of family games and also quite tough games too, and the brilliant titles are included, and more kind of arcadey, kind of cartoony vibe, not like in terms of the realism, and that's not what they approach, but having a fantastic sandbox. And Xbox, well, doesn't matter what games, as long as Game Pass, as long as that subscription exists, as long as people subscribe to it, that's all that matters. Alright guys, like and subscribe, see you guys all, have a wonderful day.